We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day's going well. Today, as you're listening to this, is Tuesday, but we're recording it Monday night. We have a guest, frequent guest, Eric from Iowa. The Analytical Iowan is with us. And Eric, welcome. And we're just thinking about it. There's so much shit to talk about. I'm even I'm a little more angry today than I normally am. I don't usually get emotional about stuff, but with regard to this Epstein file things and reading some of the documents, I'm just going, holy fuck. Anyway, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I see where you're coming from with the Epstein files. They're uh, getting out there. I mean, we said before that the United States isn't the only place with access to these documents, and we're seeing other countries chime in. They're launching their own investigation into their people and things like that. And I can't remember the name of the guy, but he was a biographer for the former Prince Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. And he
Yeah.
came out last week and said, yeah, there are chunks of what's been released that involve Prince Andrew that are conveniently missing Donald Trump's name. His name's been redacted or removed. Other countries, other people who are not bound to this government know what's going on here. It's a worldwide ring. And beyond that, there it's going to come out. He thinks he's winning, and the people around him or the people in this country who worked with the levers of power to try to protect themselves. It's only going to work for so long, and it's going to come out with everything. Either they're going to screw up and release something they shouldn't have, that the oligarchs and the rich folks want redacted, or one of the other countries is going to have the information and it's going to see the light of day. One of the two.
Well, they're maybe going to get forced into releasing some of this stuff. I'll tell you why I'm so angry about it and kind of emotional about it. Prior to the election in the last 10 years, we kept hearing from QAnon coming up with this crazy shit, eating babies and Pizzagate and all this stuff and torture and all of that. And of course, we thought it was just crazy conspiracy theories from a crazy fucking cult. Um, and of course, they wanted to pin it all on the Democrats. But now we get to this point and we see some of these files from the Epstein files. And fuck if they aren't very similar to what QAnon was saying. I'm not saying QAnon's a legitimate source, but I look at what I've seen in just bits and pieces. I haven't read the whole document, obviously, but you're hearing about 9-year-old Brazilian girls, torture, unaliving people, assaulting girls, transporting girls. I said before when I started hearing this stuff, I said, if any of this stuff is true, we almost just have to burn the fucking country down and start over. Because we, my problem with this is not only these people committing these crimes, they are the worst of the worst, but all these people that seem like they're acting above it all are covering it up. And for me, the people that cover up these sorts of things are just as guilty as the people committing the crimes.
Yeah, I would agree with you that the cover up is just as bad because it clearly says if you're willing to cover it up, you're okay with it having happened, whether you participated in it or not. If you're willing, and I know so for some people they're going to say, well, it was just my job. I was only doing what I was paid to do. Well, there are
Not
other
good enough.
jobs. Yeah, there are other jobs. Sure, it may not be what you want, it may not pay the same, but at some point, you need to come out and come forward. You should have come forward before it ever got to the point where things were covered up. Um, this whole story, as it keeps developing, and they think they've done a good job of covering most of it, just isn't. It's not that great. They've left breadcrumbs everywhere. We can clearly see that there are things out there. And it's pretty evident that they are trying to protect certain people, including Donald Trump. And one of the reasons I say they're protecting Donald Trump, in the middle of one of these emails, I don't remember which email or which file number, but beyond redacting the sending information and the subject line of the email, there's one word redacted in the middle of the email. And if you piece the context around it together, the only word that makes sense there is don't.
Right.
Don T. Well, that's clearly they used AI or some sort of automatic search filter for any reference to Don T and covered it up. Like, why out of the entire email, redacting that word doesn't make any sense unless you're protecting somebody. And
Yeah. Yeah. It sure seems like it.
this whole thing is, everything's going to come out in the wash at some point. And when it does, everybody who protected it and was okay with it is going to have to answer to it. Um, Probably not until this administration is gone, and maybe not the next one if it's JD Vance.
Yeah. I don't see JD Vance. I mean, he can't get a positive crowd no matter where he goes. But we got members of Congress going to the DOJ now looking at unredacted materials. People on the Democratic side, you can't trust the Republicans, they'll just cover it up. But the Democrats are seeing it. Jamie Raskin came out and said that he came across a list of people who were clearly co conspirators, who were men of a certain age in their 50s or 60s or whatever. And they were redacted, and they have questions as to why they are redacted. Now, if you go to the law, redacting those people's names doesn't fall within under the law. You have to wonder if they're going to have to re-release it with the unredacted names. I feel like it's we're getting drips and drabs coming out of here, but once the water starts moving, the dam is going to burst at some point. There's got to be people on these lists that are just absolutely losing their shit, but there's very little they can do now once the momentum has started.
Yeah, I think at some point something is going to come out. Now that the DOJ is letting Congress have access to these unredacted files, um, or something is going to be released or leaked or something, and it's going to start. And I've been saying for a long time, what I think is going to happen is when the Republicans, when they can't hide it anymore, when they can't cover it up, or when they think it is close enough to the election to save them in the midterms, not realizing that nothing can save them in the midterms.
Right.
Um, they're going to move on Donald Trump. I do. I firmly believe they are going to use the Epstein files as their catalyst to get rid of Donald Trump.
Well, they
They
almost
because
have to. They almost have to because, when he was been an asset getting them money or votes or whatever, but when he starts losing them votes, which he already has, when they can't collect money from what he's doing because he's keeping all of it, they're going to have to kick him to the curb, regardless of how afraid they might be of him. And he's almost at that point right now, I would think. He's been at that point for a while where he's not doing them any good. All you have to do is look at the special elections and all this shit. Um, Republicans aren't doing well. And if they're just now starting to realize that they might be in trouble at the midterms, they need some better thinkers on that side of the fucking aisle because we've known this for a while.
Well, I don't know if it's as much about them knowing or just now realizing that they're in trouble, as much as they're trying to play and do what Republicans are always good at. Republicans are good at messaging and they're good at playing politics.
Yeah.
And what I think they're doing is we know voters have short-term memory problems. You know, they forgot how bad things were under COVID with Donald Trump, and a significant portion of this country voted him in again. Um, you know, Other things have happened, and it was too far away from the election, and people forgot. So I think with the Republicans, I think they know it's going to be bad, and that they have to do something to get rid of him. But they're trying to maximize that window so people still go, "Oh yeah, things were shitty." But the Republicans, oh, they did the right thing. They got rid of Donald Trump. Not, and then
Right.
and they're trying to maximize the window of people being happy that they got rid of Donald Trump and forgetting all of the times they sided with Donald Trump, and at the same time trying to not give JD Vance too long of a window to fuck things up even worse because, well, even though he's smarter than Donald Trump, JD doesn't have the pull over the Republican Party, so he's not going to be able to fix anything. He's going to be very ineffective.
Yeah. That's the thing about the Republicans, though. They do this a lot. They believe that they can pull something out of their ass on short notice. They'll walk it right up to the line and think, well, I can fix this. They'll forget about it. And, I think we're at a point right now where things are bad enough out there. The optics are horrible with Jeffrey Epstein and kidnapping 5-year olds and detaining citizens, the economy and where it is. There's virtually nothing that they're doing now to make anything better, and it's likely to get worse before the midterms. They even getting rid of Donald Trump isn't going to be enough. We're too far down the fucking hole in order to dig ourselves out. We're going to need an entire different crew in Congress, different leadership in Congress in order to dig out from what Donald Trump put us into. I just don't understand why they waited to the last minute because it's way too fucking late at this point.
Yeah, well, they did it because not that they thought that Donald Trump was going to salvage them or he was going to be their savior, but because they can get the most out of him. Because of all of the issues that are surrounding Donald Trump and his mental abilities, it's very evident by the way he acts and talks that he is suffering from dementia or Alzheimer's or some combination, maybe a stroke, something like that, that he is not the same person he was when he got elected in 2016.
Right.
And Donald Trump is, we've talked about it, he's easily manipulated. So they're using him. He's going to be the one to get all of this, draconian shit done. And yeah, members of Congress had to vote for a lot of it. But see, when it's all said and done, they're getting their way with him as president. And I could see them doing this is once he's gone and it comes out, well, we didn't really support that. But see, oh, he was such a strong president that, you know, we had to bend to his will. We couldn't stand up to him or whatever. They're going to try to both sides it again and
Yeah.
put all the blame for all the draconian shit, the ICE problems, the economy, all of it at Donald Trump when reasonable people and people of that can obviously see what's going on can notice that the Republican Party could have put a stop to it at any point. They just chose not to.
You were talking about the foreign countries that are looking into these Epstein files, and that is really an important point. Um, if the DOJ continues to try to cover this up, which is exactly what they're doing, these foreign countries have no problem releasing evidence. Certainly, no problems against releasing evidence against Donald Trump because they hate fucking Donald Trump. They'd love to be the ones to take him down. So Donnie's got to be a little worried about what these foreign countries are doing in terms of investigations. But it's not just Donald Trump. And in those emails, there was one email somebody was, and it was redacted, which shouldn't have been. And it was talking to Jeffrey Epstein about how much they enjoyed the torture video. Now, I can't imagine what that is or who was being tortured or what was going on. And this turned out to be, they didn't give the name, but they said he was kind of some Arab sheik or somebody in the Middle East. When this stuff gets unredacted or the foreign countries do what they're doing, this is going to impact a lot of people in the world. We're already seeing people in England getting fired or resigning and that kind of stuff. It's already taken its toll on a lot of important people. Um, it's not just going to be Donald Trump that gets imploded. It's going to be a lot of people in this country and a lot of people around the fucking world.
Oh yeah, I mean it's definitely a worldwide ring, and there are things that I never thought could have even been connected to it. And of course, now I'm seeing uh, some people saying maybe we deserve a class action lawsuit or something, against them. Beyond that, Life Touch. Have you seen the stuff about Life Touch, the photo people?
I heard something about that, and I find that interesting because I think all of us that have kids have gone through that, where your pictures, school pictures, are taken by Life Touch. Why don't you expand on that? Because I don't know as much about it as I should, but what I did
Well,
hear sound fucked up.
I don't entirely know the whole story. This is the gist, the way I understand it is apparently Life Touch was acquired by a company who was also acquired by somebody who was in the Epstein files.
Oh, okay.
Like Life Touch was acquired by Shutterfly, and Shutterfly was acquired by somebody else who is in the files. Now,
Wow.
I don't know what year, um, but and for a lot of us, sure, all they had was it was a school picture. But as somebody pointed out, were they creating catalogs? Was this an order by number? It you don't know, and it's entirely possible because of this that they may be completely unrelated. It just
Right.
happened
It
to be
might
that
be
this guy saw an investment that he thought was good money and went with it.
it might be totally unrelated. It might be totally coincidental. It might just be happenstance, and nothing happened with Life Touch with regards to these kids. Problem with it is it's like, do you hire a pedophile to work in a daycare or a school? You don't want these people anywhere near kids or pictures of kids. So that's what causes it to be troubling.
Exactly. And like I said, it could have just been something that he acquired thinking it was a good business investment, and maybe it was. The problem is we don't know. And because of how the DOJ hasn't investigated any of this, hasn't done anything with any of it, and this is under multiple administrations.
Right.
So, you know, we can talk about how bad it is under Donald Trump and this DOJ is not doing anything, and how they finally charged Epstein in 17 under Donald Trump.
Right.
But still, the whole thing is it goes back multiple administrations. Why? Why didn't the DOJ deal with it? Why wasn't the FBI? And to some extent, it is because besides Donald Trump, presidents have let the DOJ alone and the FBI alone to put in to do things their own way, handle their own investigations. Well, almost every FBI director going back, I'm not even sure how many decades at this point, has been appointed by Republicans. And then when the
Right.
Democrats get in, they just keep reappointing the same guy and letting it run. Well, maybe that's the wrong move.
Well,
Obviously,
maybe
when
it
we get
is.
back in charge, Cash Patel, if he's still the FBI director, and I don't think he will be, I think he's going to go away.
I
And
think I think
Democrats
anybody that
should put
Donald Trump
somebody in.
appoint, yeah, anybody that Donald Trump appoints to the FBI or to the Attorney General need to go as quickly as possible because they can't be trusted. I mean, didn't Biden keep Christopher Wray
Yes.
when Donald Trump appointed him and kept him through the thing? And you know, I guess he did an all right job. But this is the thing that's the most troubling to me. I kind of am worried about the previous administrations because all this stuff had been hanging out there. These wealthy, powerful men, this pedophile ring, these horrific crimes being done, and nobody willing to do anything. Now, let's say the presidents and previous administrations didn't know about it. They just let the DOJ do what they are supposed to do, which is the way a president's supposed to handle it. All these DOJs from Merrick Garland to Pam Bondi to all the way back, they knew this stuff was here. They know how horrific it was, and they did nothing. I mean, not even an investigation. If somebody made a claim as egregious as what these sound, you would think there'd be an investigation, but there was no investigation. So the only explanation for that is there was no investigation because these were rich, powerful white men, and they get a pass for some reason because they have a lot of money. And the people guilty of just allowing them to take a pass are Democrats and Republicans at this point.
Well, yeah. I mean, and we've always seen wealthy white people have an edge. I don't remember the guy's name. He was an athlete for, I want to say it was Stanford, but I could be wrong. But he got charged with assaulting a young woman. And they're up there talking about how, well, one mistake is going to ruin his life and, he shouldn't go to prison, and the judge gave him a slap on the wrist
Right.
because he was a rising athlete and his parents had some money and all this. And there was national outrage. I remember that. I don't remember what year that was. But point is, wealthy people always have seemed to have a difference here. And I think that is something that is going to change as we get rid of some of these old fucks in Congress and we get some younger people in. Um, they're going to change their mentality because they're going to be changing how the law is interpreted as they appoint younger and younger judges into these positions. The judges aren't going to be going with that old school mentality anymore. And I think it's all going to start with this stuff becoming public and seeing exactly how prevalent it is. Because I don't think people ever realized, oh, we heard Epstein's ring, oh, he was doing some stuff. I don't think we ever realized till this documentation came out, A, how bad it really was, B, how many victims there really were, and how many clients there really were.
Well, it really started with Alex Acosta when they gave Jeffrey Epstein that sweetheart deal. They pled down to a prostitution charge. He was in jail for like 12 or 18 months, 12 hours a day. He was let out to do whatever the fuck he wants. But the other part of the deal is, and this is where Ghislaine Maxwell thinks she should get away with it, is that there was some agreement not to prosecute anybody else along the process. How do you explain that away? You give this guy a sweetheart deal, and then all the people he trafficked to were given a pass and said they would not be prosecuted. Even if you can't prosecute these people, we need to expose them. We need the people of this country to know who they are, and what they've done. Even if they can't get prosecuted, people need to be able to be safe around these people. And if you don't feel safe, you shun them, you push them away, or whatever. And there's one other thing about what happened in Florida when they got this easy deal for Epstein. The one person who's kind of pivotal in where we're at right now is Pam Bondi. She is the Attorney General of the United States of America. But you have to remember when this was all going on in Florida with Alex Acosta and all this other shit, Pam Bondi was the Attorney General in Florida. So she has to know a lot about this shit than she maybe lets on. I think what they need to do, if they really want to get some information, to bring James Comey's daughter in to testify. James Comey's daughter was the woman who prosecuted Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, and she is also the one that was fired by the Trump administration, interestingly enough. Now, I don't know what she can talk about, but if anybody knows all the facts about what's going on, it's Comey's daughter.
Well, she may not know everything, but she knows a lot. And yeah, that would be a great move to bring her in to have her testify. And you'd get more out of her than I guarantee you're going to get out of Pam Bondi. Pam
Yeah,
Bondi, we heard there was an article that came out. I want to say it was Saturday, I think, that Pam
yeah.
Bondi was going to be testifying before Congress this week, and the victims groups were saying, "Oh yeah, at first it sounded great, and now we are hearing that Republican leadership is telling uh, the Republicans in the House, oh, don't push on any of the tough questions. Don't ask her about, all of this stuff." So she's going to get softball questions and a pass on almost all of it again. And so
Well,
what's the point in having her
that's
testify?
that's true. They told the Republicans not to ask any questions regarding Epstein or Donald Trump. but they're not, it's not just Republicans in that oversight committee, they're Democrats. Democrats are going to get a chance to ask questions too. So it's not like she's going to be completely saved. She's going to be pressed on some of the hard questions. And what she'll probably do is what she's always done, get mad and say, I'm not answering that. Well, you're under subpoena. You're the attorney general of this country. You need to fucking answer it. So it'll be interesting to see what the Democrats do to pressure her to do her job.
Yeah, I mean, Democrats are going to have to put some pressure on here. And the thing is, I believe it is going to be a public hearing. So it's going to be public testimony. All they need to do is ask the question. Oh, so what about this? Oh, well, I'm not answering that. So what you're saying is there's probably something there. You just don't want to tell us. Well, I just
Right.
not, and just get her all flustered. Even if she doesn't say anything, those clips are going to get out. And they need to do what Republicans would always do and, and message on it, do much better. This is going to be the probably the big story going all the way through till the midterms is going to be we're going to continually be talking about Epstein. We're going to be talking about the files. We are going to be talking about people not being held accountable and what's going on. And it's going to get to the point that even Republicans, no matter what they do, they're not smart enough. And there's too much going on here that they're just not going to be able to keep it all hidden.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, you know, Ro Khanna and Thomas Massey were the ones behind this whole Epstein thing. They were in there reading the unredacted files. They're the ones that said that there is at least six co-conspirators there that were redacted, so we couldn't see them. Um, and I heard, I think Massey was getting a little angry about something and said uh, he's tempted to go on the floor and read the names. Now he's had plenty of opportunities to do that, and I've never seen them come through with it. I don't know if we'll see Massey and Ro Khanna actually read the names on the floor because of whatever pressures they have. But they're trying to do everything they can to get the DOJ pressured enough to release these names. And I got to tell you, the pressure's got to be coming from Donald Trump, but it's got to be coming from all the wealthy people that are on this list. They all have a lot of power, they have a lot of money, and it's going to be hard to get them to release these names. Now, one thing I thought was interesting too, with regards to the Super Bowl, the victims did a PSA that was very poignant, and that will add a little pressure in terms of public opinion. But I think public opinion is pretty strong now. We want to know what the fuck is up, and it'll be interesting to see how they continue to work around these pressures because eventually, like you say, they're not going to be able to do it anymore. It's just going to be too hard.
Well, the one thing that we've talked about before, and I'll say it again, is they've been told, the MAGA voters have been told for years, even probably decades at this point, that it's only Democrats that do these horrible things to kids. And I
Right.
know you did a TikTok on it talking about how I think maybe we even started the podcast with it where they said all this shit, QAnon and all the bullshit, and now it sounds like it was all true, but it wasn't Democrats.
Right.
But the MAGA voters, um they want to see the proof to prove us libtards wrong. Oh,
Right.
see, libtard, you were wrong. You were wrong. Oh, see, it is Democrats who are evil. Well, the whole problem with that is the MAGA Republicans and people in Congress and everything, they didn't expect on that keeping and being ramped up so bad. They thought
No.
they could get in there, say, "Oh, there's nothing to see here," and like everything else, their voting base is going to say, "Oh yeah, sure, whatever you say," and they're not doing that this time, and they don't know how to react.
Well, they always think they can distract or divert. And a lot of times they have been able to do that, but not on this particular occasion. They're just not going to be able to do it. And I don't know if you heard this one too. Of course, we had Ghislaine Maxwell testify in front of the Oversight Committee via Zoom or whatever. She just pled the fifth on everything, which we knew she would do. So what was the point of even having her come? But she did say afterwards through her lawyer, they said, listen, if you give me clemency, Donald Trump, I'll tell the whole truth. Well, she's a pathological liar. She's been convicted of lying. What she's basically signaling to Donald Trump is, if you give me clemency, I'll clear your name, which is,
Hmm.
uh, I'm interested to see if Donald Trump would buy into that, because she could say Donald Trump had nothing to do with this, but the files say otherwise. Whatever she says, known to be a liar and contradictory to what we're seeing in the files, she could say whatever the fuck she wants. Nobody's going to buy it. Will Donald Trump be stupid enough to pay her with a pardon to get her to say something that nobody will believe?
Is Donald Trump stupid enough? Yes.
Yeah, she is
Yes.
stupid enough.
Is he going to? I have no idea. Um, and the other thing is, what are his handlers going to do? Because we know
Yeah,
Donald Trump doesn't make a lot of his own decisions anymore. He
no.
doesn't. He is being told and propped up and held on to by other people. They're the ones pushing, to get him to do this or to do that or to say this or to say that. And they just need to phrase things the right way. Uh, so is he good dumb enough to give her a pardon? Yeah. And he may think it's a brilliant idea. Oh, well, if I give her a pardon, oh, she'll say I had nothing to do with it. And that'll prove I'm innocent, because I can always point that this person who was convicted of being with Epstein said I was innocent. What he doesn't realize, two things wrong with that. One, like you said, she was convicted of perjury.
Yeah.
So her words mean literally nothing. The only way I would believe everything she said, and even then, I don't know if I would fully believe it, is if she came out and said, I'm waiving my right to all appeals. I'm going to serve my sentence. And, I don't want a pardon. The truth needs to come out and tells everything. I might believe most of it then, but
Yeah, but
she's not doing that.
no, she won't do that because she's kind of a narcissist herself. So she will never admit she's wrong. I mean, she's continued to try to tell everybody, I didn't do anything wrong. I was just doing this. And she'll never tell the truth, just like Donald Trump. The only time I think Donald Trump will pardon her, and I think he might, is as he gets further stuffed in the corner and there's no way out. He will take any option as a survival tactic, even if it's not a good idea to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell. That may be the only thing he can do to try to take the attention away from these horrific things that he has been involved in. He might do it against the advice of his people, because if he does that, two things will happen. No truth will come out, nobody will believe it, and people will be upset on both the Democratic and Republican side for him to release one of the most horrific, most prolific uh, uh, pedophiles in the history of this country, second only to Jeffrey Epstein. But I can see him do it when he just has nothing else he can possibly do.
Well, and the thing that the people around him have to be afraid of is, we've been talking a lot about how he's sundowning and he's doing this shit at 3 in the morning or 2 in the morning or whenever he's awake and his brain won't stop,
Yeah.
right? There's a chance that one of these nights he's up, he's on Truth Social, he's on TikTok or whatever he's doing, and he comes across something and saying, "Well, Ghislaine Maxwell's hinted that this or whatever," or see somebody like you or me saying something about him, about how bad he is and how he's in the files or whatever, and he'll say, "Oh, I got to distract from it. I know I'm gonna give her a pardon," and he won't stop to ask anybody. He'll just do it. I think that is the biggest thing that could happen there is that he decides at 3 a.m. he's gonna do it, signs the damn thing, and then turns around and puts it out on True Social. I just pardoned her. Way to let this, we got to let this person who was wrongfully convicted and is a political prisoner or something go free. I could see him posting that exact thing because he's not in his right mind anymore.
Now, I'm just reading something here. Um, I'm just reading the headline here. I haven't read the story. But this is, you talk about sundowning. This is a perfect example of that. Now, clearly, Canada has been doing some trading with China, and and that's not the best for us. And in this headline, it says Trump wildly claims China will terminate all ice hockey in Canada.
Yeah,
Wow,
this isn't the first time he's done that.
wow,
He's made that
that's
claim before.
desperation. That's desperation.
He has said that if Canada goes along with signing a trade deal for with China, that somehow the trade deal by itself would be enough to end all hockey in Canada. And it makes no sense whatsoever, but he knows Canadians like hockey. I know it's stereotypical,
Yeah.
but it's also true because it's a very popular sport up there. And he's like, well, if I just tell them this bad thing is going to happen, they'll believe me, and I'm gonna look like a genius for saving them. They'll have to come to the table. This is Donald Trump grasping at straws because he's terrified. He's sundowning. I think on some levels he does know things are going bad, and I don't know if it's because he is sundowning that his narcissism. I don't know if it's amplified or if there are certain points when it's. I think it's maybe both. Certain times of the day, I think it's amplified and he ramps things up to 1,000. And I think at other times you see genuine fear because his mind isn't able to keep him in that protective ego bubble where he actually believes his own hype.
Well, and you have to understand about what this sundowning is. It's typical narcissism. When something bad is happening or makes them look bad, they immediately start yapping. They don't think about what they're saying. They just start yapping, and they say anything they think will either distract or redeem them from whatever bad is out there. And there's so much bad that's coming out every day. This is why we get the sundowning, and he starts posting these ridiculous things. Of course, I don't, and certain things he's obsessed by. The 2020 election, of course, which is stupid. Um, but he's got a hard on for the Obamas. He does not like the Obamas. And so he posts this meme with the Obamas' faces transposed on the bodies of monkeys, which is, I can't believe anybody was stupid enough to post it. They tried to say it was a staff member. I don't believe that. It was 11:30 at night, and it was on Donald Trump's account. I don't think he has that many people doing that many posts. But this is a desperation thing to distract attention. Donald Trump is always trying to be funny or clever, which he is neither. He always falls short when he tries to do that. And I guess that's what he was trying to do, trying to diminish the Obamas, basically, because Obama was a better president, won the Nobel Peace Prize, and sit. And he just gets all ramped up at night. He's scared to death. He's absolutely terrified. And that's why we see these stupid things end up being posted on Truth Social.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is um, he doesn't watch a lot. Like he doesn't watch a lot of what he puts out there. He didn't look for context, and it is entirely possible that he saw part of it because I guess it's part of a longer clip that shows him depicts him as the king of the jungle and other Democrats as lesser animals, as varying uh animals or whatever. So maybe he only did see the first part because he doesn't watch anything. I mean, that's how he gets into these posting sprees where he's posting 300 posts in 2 hours or whatever it was because he's just, oh, this looks good, post, 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 post. Doesn't read, doesn't observe, doesn't watch. And it's because his mind, like you said, his mind is racing. It's 1,000 miles, going 1,000 miles an hour. He's awake when he should be asleep.
Yeah.
He's not thinking about anything, but he's terrified because In some cases, I think it's he feels everything is collapsing around him. I think he does know on some level how bad everything is looking for him, even though they are trying their best to prop him up. And beyond that, I think it's just him. Like you said, he's trying to be clever or funny. Well, when has he ever been clever or funny?
Never.
His only version of being funny or joking is typical bully tactics. It's I'm making a joke at your expense. I'm insulting somebody, and then that mega comes in. Oh, see, ha, ha, he was trolling you. He's just funny. No, he's just being mean.
Well, and the thing about it is with somebody like Donald Trump with that mentality, the one thing I've noticed with them too is they only want to hear the things that are positive for them. And if they hear something positive about them, they take it as the absolute gospel and they start repeating it. Oh, this guy thinks I'm handsome, or this guy thinks I'm a strong leader, or this guy thinks I'm the least racist person in the world. When somebody says I'm the least racist person in the world, that's a racist motherfucker. I'm just telling you right now. That's a fact. But he hears what he wants to hear, and then he jumps on it as if it's absolute gospel. But he misses all the time because the people around him know how easy he is to manipulate. That's why they feed him shit like this. He doesn't have any motivation to look any deeper into something. If Stephen Miller tells him something positive, even though it might be fucking wrong, he's going to jump all over it as if it's the truth and try to sell it to you as it's the truth.
Oh yeah, and beyond that, not just about whether or not it's positive for him, but if it's negative about a group of people he doesn't like or negative about somebody he doesn't like, he's going to believe it. That's why, like you said, him saying he's the least racist person in the world, well, that's obviously bullshit. Um, he's been racist his entire life. He still goes after every now and then the Central Park Five, and he brings them up every now. He was going after them for decades. Or when he testified on Capitol Hill about Native Americans gambling, well, he doesn't look Indian to me. Quote from Donald Trump. He's
Yeah.
always been that way. Uh, but like when it comes to going after immigrants or going after these groups, if somebody says something negative about these groups, he's going to believe it, no matter how ridiculous it sounds and easily provable false. It's ridiculous. And not just him. The MAGA voting base will believe it too.
Yeah, we have the Olympics going on now, and some of the athletes have been speaking out against America, American athletes speaking out against the government. And Donald Trump went off on a rant about one skier. I think his name is Hess. He's a loser, don't even know why he's on the team and all this stuff. None of this stuff works well for him. Even people in his own party are going, oh, for fuck's sake, do not do that. But he insists on doing it. Anybody says something bad about him, he's going to jump all over him. It doesn't matter if it's the fucking Pope or if it's just some guy down the street. He cannot help himself.
For the most part. There are certain people he seems to leave alone. You ever
True.
notice that?
Yeah, there are
And
some people.
it seems to be the ones that could take him down or that know something. Like we've been talking, there hasn't been anything in the files yet that seems to verify Sasha Riley's story.
Right.
Not yet. But you would think Sasha Riley comes out and says he was assaulted by Donald Trump, and in an effort to get away, shoved a tent stake up his ass. You would think you would think Donald Trump would come out and he would attack back and he would hit back and I'm going to sue you or I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. And nothing happens. He doesn't say anything about it. He ignores it. Now, it's possible that he has not seen or heard of these interviews because his handlers are keeping him contained.
Yeah.
But like this skier, he goes after him. He's a loser or whatever. When Donald Trump does that, what he doesn't realize, again, because he's an idiot, is because it draws attention to whatever he's trying to deflect from. Shines a big giant spotlight on it.
That's the funny thing about it, where people say it's always projection and whatever he says, he's guilty of. And I never understood that strategy. Maybe I'm a different kind of dude. If I did something wrong, if I did something specifically wrong, the way to get out of that wouldn't be say, well, Eric did something wrong, exactly what I did. I'd want to be so far off that subject so that it doesn't come up in conversation. But he does it every time. Um, this person is guilty of mortgage fraud. Well, we know he's guilty of mortgage fraud. Why wouldn't you just avoid it altogether? What makes him think that's a good tactic? Because now it opens up everybody's eyes to that particular crime. He says Letitia James did it, and then somebody else comes out and says, "Well, yeah, so did you." It's just, it's dumb.
Well, I think part of it is it's uh twofold, kind of. I think part of it is his idea of, well, if I show everybody's doing this, then I'm going to be innocent. Well, clearly it's not that big of a deal because everybody does it.
Yeah,
And then you add in the fact that he's diminished and he's not bright. He doesn't have the cognitive ability, and I don't think he ever did have really the cognitive ability to deflect away from it. So in the moment, his brain goes, I got to say Letitia James did something wrong, and I got to be able to come up with something.
yeah,
Well, they got me on mortgage fraud, and that played big in the media, and they talked about it. So clearly, let's use that. Let's go after her for that because he couldn't come up with anything else, right?
right, right.
Or he could come up with the if it's not doing the exact same thing, the best thing he can come up with is, well, you're just a mean and nasty woman. Why don't you ever smile more?
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to bring this up because people bring it up all the time. You and I have talked about it a number of times, but there's an extra part of this now. People continuing to say, well, there won't be a midterms. And you and I both know there will be a midterms. There's no mechanism for them to shut down the midterms. But Steve Bannon said something that got everybody riled up and worried and all this stuff about how they would have ICE agents around all the polls. That's not even logistically possible. There isn't enough ICE agents to do something like that. Not to mention, it's highly illegal to do something like that. Now, I know Donald Trump can get away with stuff being legal or illegal, but this stuff is just being thrown out there to scare people. And this is what I try to remind people. Their only strategy is to scare you. So if you're scared, they're winning. So quit fucking doing that.
Right. Their strategy is to scare you into submission. They want to flood the zone with whatever they can get away with.
Right.
In this case, they're talking about, well, we're going to put ICE agents around all of the polling precincts to make sure, the elections are fair. This goes along with what Donald Trump said. I'm only going to believe the elections if they're honest. Well, what he means is he's only going to believe it if he wins. They're trying to scare us into not turning up because what is going on with these elections around the country? In almost every election that we have had, either the Democrats are overperforming and winning, and they're flipping seats that haven't flipped in decades in some
Right.
cases,
Right.
or they're still, even if they're losing, they're still way overperforming. Look at Afton Bain in Tennessee, closed a 20, what was it, a 22-point gap or something, down to only 9 percentage points, swung it by 13. Well, how many races in this country are decided by less than 13 percentage points? A shit ton, especially now that Republicans are trying to gerrymander. They're terrified of losing the midterms. Midterms are going to happen. They are going to exist. And this is going to be our chance to put some guardrails in place. And I'm not saying the Democrats are perfect.
Absolutely not.
They're not. They have their own problems. And once again, I'm going to say it. I've mentioned it a lot, especially over on my own show. But now is the time in the primary season, push for your preferred candidate. If if you want a Bernie Sanders type social democrat, push for him. If you want somebody like Mamdani, push. Try to get them on the ticket. But if they don't win, we can't play the partisan politics or the bullshit politics of my guy didn't win. I'm going to prove the Democrats they need my vote. I'm not going to vote. I'm going to show them a lesson. I'm going to
Yeah.
teach them something. That
Well,
bullshit is
and
how we get where we're at. Don't
exactly.
do that.
Well, there might be some people that voted Republican just to show the Democrats, but I think the bigger problem was the people just sat home on the couch and didn't do anything. We saw that in the 2024 election. Probably 9 million people could have got out and voted and changed the whole perspective of or the whole complexion of what we're in now, but they chose not to. Hopefully, there was some lessons learned by that, but I don't know with this country and the people of in it, there is a rampant spread of stupidity.
Yeah, but I think in part, what is going to happen or what did happen in 2024, I think a big chunk of the younger voter, because it sounded like a lot more younger voters voted for the Republicans.
Right.
They bought into it, and now they got burned. And they thought us old people who were out there saying, "Well, this is going to happen. This is going to happen." Oh, you're just making it up. There's no way. You're fear mongering. It can't be that bad. And now it is, and they're going, "Oh shit." And that kind of realization, unfortunately, I think some of them had to make on their own. They had to. Um, I don't see any way that the Republicans come out of it unless the Democrats shit the bed.
Yeah.
And I mean, they would have to really, really screw up. Midterms are going to happen. There's just no mechanism for Donald Trump to do half of what he wants to do. And I think even Republicans, if he tries to do anything overly drastic against the midterms, um, they're going to turn on him. We've been talking about how th- they're there's they're looking for a way out. They're already having discussions behind closed doors. They know they have to do something at some point, or they're not going to have a party in 4 years.
Well, Barry Loudermilk, a representative in Georgia, um, Barry Loudermilk in Georgia um, won his position by 12 points. Won by 12 points. He's also known as the tour guide prior to January 6th insurrection. He's the one that gave the white supremacists a tour through the Capitol to let them study what the inside looks so they know how to attack it better. But he's decided not to run again. Now, this guy is a big time Trump humper. The idea that he decided I'm not going to run again didn't wasn't because he wants to spend more time with his family. It's because he doesn't believe he's going to win. And can you imagine that somebody who's won in a red district by 12 points is so nervous about running again, he decides not to run? That should be a signal to a lot of people that not only does it look like it's going to be a blue wave, a lot of Republicans are believing it too. We know there are at least 30 people currently in the House in the Republican Party that have decided not to run for reelection. That tells you a lot.
Oh yeah, it speaks volumes. The Republicans are nervous. They're worried about losing the midterms. They're worried about getting their asses kicked. So what do? Tuck tail and run.
Yeah.
Um, which is fine. Let's get Loudermilk the fuck out of Congress. He doesn't need to be there in a way. He is lucky that Merrick Garland was an ineffective piece of shit as Attorney
Right.
General, or his ass would be in a prison cell at this point. More than likely, just for being the tour guide. Um, the whole thing it just shows us how terrified they are. And you said he won by 12 percentage points. Well, I was talking about Afton Bain in Tennessee. Gained a markup of 13. And that's one race right there that could have flipped with that same percentage gain.
Well, and what we'll say about Afton Bain, I was in a Zoom meeting with her, and she's a very sharp young lady. Um, Afton Bain lost that race for that special election, right? And it was close, but not close enough, and she lost. So the Republican took over that district, but only till 2026. So
Mm-hmm.
she's going to run again in 2026 about this against the same clown, and things may be different because things have gotten decidedly worse uh, in this country, in Georgia, since that time. So don't be surprised if Afton Bain does even better showing or maybe even win come 2026.
Well, I've been saying for a while, I am 100% convinced you are going to see things in the midterms that we didn't think possible. I know I said that before because I thought the momentum was on the Democrat side in 24, but realistically, uh, the economy was, while not great for individuals, the economy was humming along. We were adding jobs month after month. Everything was going pretty good, and we're back to being kind of a credible nation and everything like that. You look at all of the fucked up shit Donald Trump has done since being back in office, and there's just no way that I think the Republicans have a decent showing. Um, this may be their only hope, though, is people like Loudermilk and some of these other fuckers not running, because then you got to decide between two new people, and you have somebody who maybe isn't tainted by Donald Trump. Then the Republicans are hoping that that gives them an edge in some of these red districts of, well, yeah, you got this other guy. Well, he really was never a Trump supporter, or he was a political unknown. Give him a chance, see what he does. And they're just going to be very cautious about what they say. I don't think they're going to end up doing very well. And you're going to see races you never thought could flip. I mean, we're talking about the realistic possibility of flipping a Senate seat in Texas. We're talking about the
Yeah.
Senate being in play when the map didn't even look good for the Democrats right after the last election. A lot of people were suspecting that Democrats were going to maybe even lose a seat or two right after the last election. And now we're saying Senate's in play. That's huge,
Well, and
a
that's,
huge loss for Republicans.
I've been saying that for a while, just a gut feeling. I had nothing to base it on, but now more and more people are talking about the prospect of of Democrats taking the Senate, and that's largely due to the way the country is now, the economy, and all the horrible things that Republicans are doing. And I agree with you. I think that we are going to see some things that are surprising to a lot of people. I mean, you might see people in the House of Representatives that are Republicans that seem to be a mainstay, and they may be losing their jobs too. I would love to see Mike Johnson lose his job. I don't know if that's possible or not. But we've got another situation in the Senate. Um, Mitch McConnell's in the hospital claiming to have a flu, but he's 83, 84 years old, and he's not healthy in the first place. A lot of people are presuming that he will die. Now, in 46 states, including Kentucky for a while, if somebody leaves office from the Senate, the governor then has the opportunity to appoint anybody he wants to. Now, in Kentucky, Andy Beshear is a Democrat, so it could be interesting if he could do that. But the legislature in Kentucky changed that, right? The legislature has to pick out three names that are Republicans, presumably, to keep it the way it's been. And then Andy Beshear has to pick one of those three. Have I got that right?
That's what I saw, is that they tried to change it, but I also saw way back when they made the change that Andy Bashir said, well, you may have passed that law, but the state constitution says I get to make the appointment. So try to stop me. You'll
Yeah,
have to
I
sue
heard
me to
that too.
stop me.
I heard
So,
that too.
and I think that may, we've mentioned him before as a potential candidate
Right.
for president. And this may be one of those moments where we've talked about it that everyone said, oh, it's going to be Gavin Newsom, or maybe it'll be Kamala or whoever in 28. There's a chance whoever it is hasn't been thought of yet. And this may be the moment that starts putting Bashir in the spotlight. Now, whoever wins is only going to have the seat until the end of this term, which is January 3rd. And they would have to fight for re-election right away. But the
Well,
thing is,
well, well. No, as I understood this, and see if I think Mitch McConnell's term goes to 28.
I
I
thought his
think
was
it
up
goes.
this year.
No, no. Let me check here. I think it's 28. Um, let me just check. He just won something. Mitch McConnell term. He wasn't going to run for reelection. I know that, but I
Yeah.
think it was. Let's see here. Oh, wait a minute here. You may be right. So Senator Mitch McConnell, the longest serving party leader in Senate history, announced February 20th, 25th, 25, that he will not seek reelection in 26 and will retire from the U.S. Senate when his current term ends in January of 2027. He will complete his seventh term, having served since 1985. So his term is up by
Right. So
by the midterms here. But here's the thing: if Andy Bashir has an argument with the legislature and says you can pass that law, but the Constitution says this, so I'm doing this, and then they sue him, does the seat sit empty while they're in the process of doing all this?
I mean, I don't know.
It would
I
have
don't know
to.
how that would like I don't the one thing that's at least unclear to me, maybe in part because I haven't looked into it that deep, is okay, if he sends somebody to Congress, if he says I'm appointing this person, and that would because even with the law that the Republicans tried to pass, Bashir would still have to make the appointment.
Right.
So if he sends the person to Congress and they take the oath, that would make him a senator or her a senator, whoever that is. It would make them a senator. I mean, does that change? Or would they be able to sue and then have them? I think at that point it would be up to the Senate to kick the person out, and then it would potentially be up to John Thune, maybe the Senate Majority Leader, to maybe say, "Well, I'm not swearing them in." But again, I don't know if that would happen. This is going to get messy. It's going to raise the stakes for, uh, Bashir. It's going to raise his national profile. And it's probably going to shine a spotlight on whoever Bashir tries to appoint if it is a Democrat, that maybe they could still run and win re-election in November, regardless if that seat sat empty the whole time, if all this court case played out.
Well, and that's the other thing too. Now that we know that Mitch's term is up in 2027, and that there will be election for that Senate seat in 2026. We know now whoever does get appointed, it's less than a year. So how much impact they'll have with what little Congress is doing these days is probably not much. But given what we've seen with the special elections and all of this stuff, um, I would guess it's conceivable, like you say, there could be a flip um, in Kentucky because Kentucky is no doubt struggling mightily. Their whiskey industry is fucking shot because Canada is no longer buying it. So there's got to be a bunch of people that aren't very happy at this point.
Oh yeah. And, if Bashir flips that seat, I've talked about it before. And the incumbency factor is huge because a lot of people, while they still go vote, they don't think too deep about it. There's a significant number who go, yeah, well, that person's been in there. They must know what they're doing. I'm going to go ahead and vote for him again without looking into the candidate, without looking for. And some people will do it across party lines. They'll vote both parties and just vote for the people that are already there. Once Bashir puts somebody in there, if it is a Democrat, if something does happen to Mitch McConnell, that just automatically raises the chances of them getting reelected. And that would put a seat in play that I hadn't even thought of could have been a flip for the Democrats. I mean, if
Yeah.
we're talking about uh, you know, an incumbent seat in Kentucky, if they can potentially pick that seat up, now they only need to win what, three more seats in order to flip
Yeah.
control of the Senate completely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and there's all kinds of other Senate seats that seem to be questionable. I mean, even the Senate seat down in Texas, with the likelihood, well, the possibility of Ken Paxton being the Republican nominee, for fuck's sake, that could be crazy. Or the Plantner out in Maine. There's a lot of Republican seats that could flip at this point. Um, Let me ask you this: with the House, we know that 30 Republicans are deciding not to run, so that means there's 30 races without an incumbent. We've got the economy that's shit. We've got Donald Trump fucking up everything for Republicans. Do you think all 30 of those are in play? These people wouldn't have quit unless they thought they had some concerns.
Whether I don't know if they're all in play, but one of the things, this goes back to what we were with, also is the same thing with Texas, right? We're saying Texas for the Senate is in play. These races that are now not as secure, not as locked down, Loudermilk won by 12 percentage points, and he's not running. He had name recognition. He probably didn't have to campaign that hard,
Right.
right? He could go in and say, "Oh yeah, I'm running," and they could run some ads and you could get by. But now you're dealing with somebody new. Now you got to have events. You got to go out and actually push. If they're worried, that means they're spending money in those races,
Right.
which means even if we don't flip Loudermilk's seat in Georgia, if it stays Republican, maybe that takes a seat in, well, hell, I'll say here in Iowa. In 2022, uh, the Iowa second district, the northeast corner of the state, was decided by 6 votes for a
Wow.
Republican. Now, she won her reelection with a bigger margin, but she won her first seat by 6 votes. If you have a seat like that, now there's not going to be as much money to defend that seat. Maybe
Well,
that's one that they,
you make a good point there. She won her first seat by 6 votes. She won by much more votes when she was the incumbent. So that
right,
incumbency plays a big role in an election.
right. But where I was going is you're now pulling resources because Republicans, they're going to see tons of money put into play into the midterms. So they're going to have to pull money potentially from Iowa's second district to shift over to maybe defend the guy or gal, whoever it is, the person running for Loudermilk's seat. Now suddenly it shifts, and somebody with less funds potentially running as a Democrat in that seat could have maybe more of a fighting chance where they didn't before.
Yeah.
The fact that their money's being moved around is a bad sign for Republicans.
What is their money is going to be a lot thinner. I mean, how much money do you think they put into Mitch McConnell's race the last 30 years?
None.
None.
He's like Chuck Grassley.
Yeah.
Chuck Grassley does one event every summer, or every summer that he's up for election. I don't remember if it's every summer or whatever. It's like one big event. He never runs any ads on his own. There are some PACs that will run a little bit of ads against his candidate, but it's not even overly general or overly specific. It's more general, targeting, yeah, the person running against Grassley, but it's favoring Republicans and against Democrats as a whole more than it is overly specific, trying to use that to help other races too.
And haven't
The
Republicans been having little trouble prospecting money? They're not getting as much money as they once did.
Yeah, I think so. And I think part of the problem is Donald Trump.
Right.
Remember during 2024, he sent out fundraising emails and stuff. Well, come help me, help Herschel Walker win in Georgia. And you find out like 90% of the money donated to Herschel Walker went to Donald Trump. He
Right.
told the Republicans at the RNC, well, if you use MAGA or you use Donald Trump or whatever, he gets a cut of all of your campaign donations. Well, if they're already struggling to catch because more and more races are going to need money, and he's taking a cut off the top, it's going to make it hard.
Well, he took more than a cut off of Herschel Walker. He fundraised and gained a lot of money, and he gave Walker like under 5% of whatever he collected, and the rest he put in his pockets. Donald Trump is not a team player, and the Republicans know that. He's not going to help them financially at all. He's going to enrich himself and
Mm-hmm.
let these fuckers twist in the wind. Yeah, the Republicans have a lot of problems. I wanted to talk about something else and get your take on it because I think this is an important issue that we've heard about, but I don't know that it's getting enough attention. And this is the whole situation with this whistleblower complaint against Tulsi Gabbard. Obviously, something really fucked up happened there where uh, a foreign intelligence person talked to somebody close to Donald Trump. I even question whether it wasn't, in fact, Donald Trump. Tulsi Gabbard got this complaint. She gave it to Susie Wiles, who then stuffed it in a vault and hid it and hoped to go away. A couple of things about this. A foreign agent was talking to somebody close to Donald Trump, maybe even Donald Trump. And the reason I think it might be Donald Trump, because they started throwing around executive privilege, and executive privilege only comes in play if the president is involved. What are your thoughts about that whole thing, and how does that end up shaking out?
Well, I hadn't heard that part of it being connected to somebody close to Donald Trump. The way initially what I heard of the story is that it was a complaint against Tulsi Gabbard, and it got
I did
buried
too.
in a vault. This changes everything, knowing that they're talking about executive privilege and that it was somebody close to Donald Trump, which means it was probably either Donald Trump himself, a member of the Trump family, or somebody working at the direction of Donald Trump if they're talking about executive privilege. And depending on what shakes out with this and what Congress does, again, this could be something where if it gets bad enough, Republicans can say, "Here's our out,"
Yeah.
right? We can turn on him. Whenever they have that moment, it is going to be an absolute dog pile. Um, but this whole thing, I wish I could say I was surprised, but here we are talking about either the president of the United States or somebody close to the president of the United States, potentially in contact with somebody for a hostile foreign country. And there was a whistleblower complaint saying that this could invoke national security.
Well, and
That is,
this complaint could be against Tulsi Gabbard too, because she handled it improperly. When she got this complaint, it should have been turned over to Congress within 21 days. Instead, she went to the chief of staff at the White House, and then the chief of staff shoved it away for fucking 8 months. I mean, you think about that. This is national security. The two things that trouble me is this national security has been sitting in a vault for 8 months. And if Tulsi Gabbard has anything involved with this, she's still in her position of national intelligence. I've questioned whether or not um, we even have national security anymore based on the things we've seen. And if we don't, and I don't think we do, I'm surprised something really bad hasn't happened yet.
well, I mean, we've lucked out, I think, is
Yeah.
part of it, is, that nothing bad has happened. And why would they need to do anything against us at this point? Donald Trump has proven it's much more effective to pat him on the back, tell him he's a genius, give him a couple of shiny trinkets, and they'll get whatever they want.
Well, that's exactly right. Russia and China, they don't want to get in a war with America. They want to break us down from the inside. And that's what Donald Trump is doing. So why would they just sit back and cheer the fucker on? That's got to, Donald Trump is doing all the work for Russia and China, the work that they've been wanting to do for 50 years.
Exactly. I mean, it makes more sense for them to do that. Why would they want to take us on head to head when doing it this way works better? I mean, in the one thing China could do, and I heard that they're starting to, is call the debt. They're starting to
Yeah.
move treasury bonds. I mean, they don't need an all-out war to take us out. They can do it
No,
so many other ways. It's not funny. And Donald Trump doesn't even realize it. He doesn't realize he's being played. They don't need to do major national security maneuvers. Hell, Donald Trump will flash around classified document folders just to show that he's got access to them.
yeah, exactly. It'll be interesting to see what kind of information was passed along when he talked to this intelligence agent from a foreign country. We don't know what the foreign country is. We don't know what was passed along. If Donald Trump wasn't directly involved, he was indirectly involved because he's a fucking micromanager. He just tells people what to do, and no matter how stupid it is, the people will just do it. Whoever was, if there was somebody else involved, they could be in for some serious trouble. They have no immunity, and that could be considered treason.
Yeah, 110%. The thing is, they think all these people around Donald Trump, ICE agents, and all of them, they all think Donald Trump is going to save them. That he's going to swoop in last minute of the last day and pass some kind of pardon or something, and he's going to no, he is so far diminished at this point, unless they put it in front of him and tell him to sign it, and that it's going to make him look like a genius. He's not going to do it. Odds are something's going to happen at some point, maybe soon. Um, the dementia's going to get him. The Big Mac's going to get him. Something, and he's just going to be gone before they have a chance to utilize him like that. And I guarantee you, JD Vance, even though he is slimy and he is a skis ball and he's got his own problems, he's not going to turn around and side with these fuckers just because.
No,
He's going to try to distance himself.
well, the thing about it is with Donald Trump, if they're counting on him to give them a pardon, they have to understand something. If things are going south, then things are going south for Donald Trump. Donald Trump is going to have less power than he has now. He could die, he could get impeached, he could do all that stuff. But the idea that he might pardon all these people at the last moment, if you think that's going to happen, you have to remember something. Donald Trump is transactional. He's going to want something in return. And if he's circling the toilet bowl, he's more likely to take everybody down with him than to save some people if he can't be saved.
Well, yeah, he's more likely to say, well, see, I'm not responsible. This person, this person, this person, this person. They all did that. I had nothing to do with it. He's going to throw them all under the bus without a
Absolutely.
doubt. That is how he operates. And if they think he's going to do anything other than that, they've got another thing coming. Now, one of the things I don't think we've touched on yet, we talked about before the podcast. We've talked about his health being an issue
Right.
and how bad the dementia stuff is. There was an email in the Epstein files that has been released that somebody found. Now they're talking about dated December of 17. I think it was December 29th of 17.
Okay.
It was from Epstein to the author Michael Wolff, and they talked about having dinner with Donald Trump, and they were worried about his health. Said he's wearing more makeup and that he may be possibly suffering from dementia because he doesn't recognize old friends anymore.
That's eight
That's,
years ago, 9 years ago.
yeah, 8.5, 9 years ago already. We're talking about that was in 17. during his first term, and he's only progressively gotten worse. And if they were starting to have suspicions then, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. When Donald Trump is gone, there needs to be a full investigation into his health. Those responsible for propping him up need to be held accountable. And we need to do it to those people around him what Republicans wanted to do to those around Joe Biden when they claimed he was suffering from mental difficulties and dementia. What we visibly see with Donald Trump is a fraction of how bad they claimed Joe Biden was.
Right. Right. Well, and you can see it now when you see him talking. He's very low energy. He's kind of drawling or slurring his words. He does not look good. I mean, we've said this a long time. He does not look good, but he looks worse every day. Every once in a while, he seems a little chipper, and I presume that's some kind of narcotic to prop him up. But when he's just sitting there falling asleep or doing whatever he's doing, he does not look good. He is not somebody you would say this guy's healthy. And it's got to get to him eventually.
Yeah, you would think. I mean, ultimately, it is going to affect him to the where they can't prop him up anymore. Either something's going to happen where it's very evident. I think they're hoping that maybe he has another stroke, or because I think he may have had one already,
That's what they're
or
saying.
something
Yeah.
uh, that knocks him out to where he is put into either he is taken out completely, so they don't have to do it, and they can just say, well, he passed away and it's time to move on, or that he is out to the point where he will not be able, he's non-communicative, where he can't talk to the outside world, where he's in a coma or he's in a vegetative state or something. I think Republicans are kind of hoping for that because if they have to move on him, he's going to try to burn the party down with him as he goes, and it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, and there'll still be a certain faction of people that stick with Donald Trump no matter what he does. But I tell you this: I was on Facebook recently, my personal Facebook page, and there were a couple of Trump humpers out there, and they'd say stupid shit, and I just have to respond to them, and they kind of call me out, and I'd call them out a little bit. You know, it's funny. Neither one of those fuckers have posted in almost a month. People are
Yeah.
starting to become ashamed of what's going on. They're having a hard time explaining away the Epstein files and some of the other shit and kidnapping a 5-year old child. Even Republicans are having troubles supporting some of the shit he's doing. And it's getting worse every day with him because he is cornered. He's just trying anything, he's trying everything, he's trying all things, and none of it's working. And I'm sure he's very confused because he spent his whole life being able to wriggle out of things, and it's becoming less and less possible for him to do it now.
Yeah, and that's the way things always go with people like him. He doesn't know how to react anymore. He doesn't know how to fix it. He doesn't know how to do anything. So he's doing everything. And it's getting worse. I mean, I've got a coworker I've talked about uh before who was non-political for the last how many years and is now starting to wake up and go, "Oh shit, this is this bad." And as we're discussing it, they're like, "There's no way what you're saying is legit." I'm like, "Yeah, you know, it's this bad." And they're looking into it and they come back like I'll talk to them a week or 2 weeks later. Oh my God, I can't believe you were right about that. I go, I spend hours every day digging into this. I do multiple TikToks. I do an hour show almost every day, plus, guesting on another podcast.
Right.
I know what I'm talking about. It's this bad. And their eyes are really opening up. And I think a lot of people are. They're like, holy shit, politics actually matters. It's not just I think while there are some people that are still saying it's two sides of the same coin, there's a lot of people going, fuck, it's not two sides of the same coin. They're not even in the same currency at this point.
Yeah, I get that sometimes too from Trump. The fucks just say, "You think you know everything. You think you're smarter than everybody." And I don't think I know everything, and I don't think I'm smarter than everybody. But I will say this, much like you, I spend hours every day reading, listening, kind of trying to figure it out, thinking about these things. I know a lot about what's going on and some of the inside, not inside information, but the smaller information about things because that's all I talk about and that's all I read about and that's all I watch. We're different from most people in that most people don't have time to do that, or just don't want to do that. They see what they see on the news and they think, oh my God, Steve Bannon's going to send ICE agents around every pole. You and I know better than that because they don't have enough of them. And the fact of the matter is if you think people are going to be afraid because ICE agents are around a pole, come to Minnesota. See how many of those 70,000 people are terrified of ICE agents after even killing two people in the streets. These motherfuckers aren't afraid of them. They hate them. They go after them.
Oh yeah, and them doing this kind of stuff, it's very easy to get caught up in the emotion of what's going on. And that's where I think people like you and me come into play, where we're talking about, we're kind of trying to calm the temperatures down on our side. And just because the right is saying something doesn't make it true.
Yeah.
You know, their whole goal is to intimidate. Steve Bannon says he's putting ICE agents around every polling location. Well, first of all, you can't put armed guards at polling locations. That's illegal. That's voter intimidation. And no judge, even uh, even a Trump-backed judge is going to say, no, this we can't do that. That's a bridge too far. Um, it's just they get caught up in the fear, and it's easy to say, "Oh, all hope is lost." And the reality is, we are, making so much progress that we are watching the last gasp of MAGA, and at least for a little while, the last stretch of the conservative movement.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about it is for the people listening, Eric and I aren't any smarter than any of you out there, and I can give you a couple of situations. Well, the only reason we know what we know is because we spend a lot of time looking at it and reading about it and understanding it. And if we don't understand it, we dig deeper and we try to understand it. And that's where we come into play, passing this information on to you. We're doing the work so you don't have to, that old phrase. But I will say this too, with this Rational Boomer podcast, um, everybody who comes on this show, for the most part, is just another listener like all of you. Look how smart these motherfuckers are. There's a lot of people as smart as I am. I just happen to talk a lot and have a platform, but I'm smart enough to bring in people like Eric or Will or anybody else that comes on the show, because a lot of people know a lot of things. A lot of people know different things. It's just a matter of how much time you can put into learning about this stuff and how important it is to you. I will say this for me, and I'm sure Eric's the same way. This is absolutely vital to me because I'm worried about my kids and my grandkids, and I hate people who lie and cheat and steal. So I feel compelled to rant about it. And because I don't have any limitations, I don't have a boss and all that stuff, I can do it. And Eric does have a job, and I'm surprised he's able to pull off what he does. But that takes certainly a lot more courage than some old man like me sitting in my living room talking some shit.
Well, I do have a job, and I don't discuss what I do for a couple of reasons. But the biggest reason is a lot of businesses have a social media policy. And, I don't record at work.
Right.
If I record during my shift, like on my lunch break or something, which I haven't done for a long time, but if I do, I record outside. I record without the building being in the shot, not even anything potentially identifiable about the building. I don't discuss where I work. I don't it could be the biggest national scandal about, you know, something. I don't know, whatever the case may be. I don't bring it up. I don't talk about it from that light at all, because that way, when they come, if they come back, they say, "Well, we don't like what you say." Well, prove I'm connected to you.
Yeah.
I don't have my job listed. I've never had my job listed in any of my social medias as far as I remember. I don't think I ever listed anything fully. And if I did, it was in like the early days of MySpace.
Yeah.
If you want to go back that far, but I just don't. That way, I try to keep it a little better. But I'm out here doing what I do, trying to give people facts, um, and give them a way forward. I mean, the fact of the matter is, we can get out of this. It's bad. It's not irreversible yet. But
Right.
if everybody gives in to, you know, gives into the fear, and we go, oh well, there's nothing we can do, then it's not going to get any better. We have to step forward. We have to, even if all you do is go out and vote, that's a step in the right direction. For people like us, we're sharing the information. And I'm hoping other people share what we say. And even if you just repost it, or tell people, hey, check this guy out. He really knows his shit. And it helps another person calm down about what's going on. That's all we can do.
Well, and it helps that we're on the right side of history too. I mean, right now the Republicans and the Trumplafucks, they were pretty strong for a while. Now they're pretty much on the run. Anybody siding with them is getting burned at the stake. Uh, we've been on the right side of history. We will continue to be on the right side of history. And when you come on a show like this, Eric, almost 100% of the people here are of a like mind and are friends. I don't have those dumb Trumplafucks coming into my podcast. And if I saw them, I would get rid of them. So you probably don't have much to worry about. But I was talking to my brother today who works for a big health organization. And he goes, "Man, I'm going to be 65. I'm tired of not saying shit." He'll come to me with information that I'll use, and he wants to talk. Now, his background isn't in media, so I don't know if he'd feel comfortable doing something like this, but he's got to speak up now. I think a lot of people are getting to that point. You can't talk about torturing kids and 9-year-old Brazilian girls and shit like that without being outraged and wanting to speak up. Who's going to fucking knock you down for speaking out about shit like that?
Well, yeah, and that's just the thing. They're telling on themselves if they are going against you for saying something. And you know, we are seeing people coming out going, "Yeah, I'm not dealing with that person anymore. I don't trust them anymore."
Right.
And that's where I'm at with it too. It's like, you know, people who have came out and they were supporting the Turning Point USA concert, if you will, if you want to even call it that, because it was even lip sunk. But anyway, when you got Kid Rock having lyrics like young ladies, I like them, or I like
Like them
them underage."
underage.
Yeah,
Some
some
people
call it
call it
statutory.
statutory.
I call it mandatory, and they're
Yeah.
supporting him, going, it's like, holy shit. Back in the day, did I like Kid Rock? Sure. Did I know all of his songs? No. Did I know the lyrics to that one? No. And I would have thought twice about him at the time if I had known that. I realistically, it was only for a couple of songs as to why I liked Kid Rock. But at the end of the day, people are telling on themselves, and we just need to go with the old adage: if they show you who they are, believe them.
Absolutely. All right. I'm going to wrap up the Rational Boomer podcast. Thank you, Eric, for coming on. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and learn some things. Tell folks where they can find you because you're out there.
Well, if you want to find me, about the three best places you can find me are TikTok at Analytical Iowan. All of my TikToks and the Analytical Iowan podcast are available over on YouTube at Analytical Iowan. And you can catch the audio from the TikToks and the podcast as well over on Spotify at Analytical Iowan. And if you find me on one, I've got a link tree in all the bios that will take you to all the other spots. You can also catch my TikToks for the most part up on Blue Sky as well.
Yeah. So definitely check out Eric, and he'll be back here any number of times because we like having him on and learning some shit. Thank you, Eric. For those of you listening, thanks for taking the time. I hope you have a great day, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.